You hear that? That is the sound of knee cartilage crying for help. And if you're making one of these 5 everyday mistakes, then your knees could be deteriorating literally right now as we speak, without even feeling it. When I tore my ACL and went through that brutal reconstruction surgery, I learned something that shocked me. It's not just the big traumatic moments that determine the outcome of your knee health in the long term. It's the small, seemingly harmless things that you're doing every single day. These habits are so common that most doctors won't even mention them until you're already in pain. And by then, the damage is unfortunately already done. I discovered these hidden knee killers during the first few stages of my recovery journey, and fixing them didn't only help me heal faster, but it made my knees actually feel even better than they did before the surgery. So today I'm pulling back the curtain on the 5 everyday activities that you could be doing that are destroying your knees, and exactly how to fix them by just using some simple tweaks that literally take seconds to implement. But before we get started, if you could hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you can get notified and be part of the community of folks that are looking to take action towards improving their health with evidence-based tips and actionable insights. Your knees are incredible structures. They'll support about 1.5 million steps per year for the average person. That's a lot of pressure. And they'll quietly take that abuse for years until suddenly they don't. The good news is just with a few small adjustments to these daily habits that most people do, you can be feeling better in no time. And you can keep your knees happy for decades to come and end up avoiding being one of the 25% of adults 55 and over with chronic knee pain. So let's go ahead and look at these 5 common habits and the small changes that can make a big difference. Okay, so the first activity that you're probably doing every single day that's drastically affecting your knees in the long run is wearing bad shoes. And no, I'm not just talking about high heels. We all know that this sucks for your foot. I'm even talking about shoes like these. Shoes that look stylish but have a narrow toe box. When your feet and your toes can't adequately spread in a shoe like they're supposed to, it creates this chain reaction that travels straight up to your knees. Here's exactly what happens. First, those narrow toe boxes in shoes squeeze your toes together like they're in a mitten instead of spreading naturally when you step. This immediately changes how your foot absorbs impact. Instead of your toes being able to spread out and distribute the force of that impact evenly, all of the pressure ends up getting concentrated in fewer areas. That altered force then travels up the ankle, which changes its angle slightly to compensate. And this small change in the angle of your ankle travels up and makes an even bigger impact on your knee, specifically with how your knee tracks during movement. Studies have shown that wearing improper footwear can actually increase knee adduction, that's the force that pushes your knee inward, by up to 26%. This is exactly the type of force that's associated with knee cartilage degeneration over time. So what you're gonna wanna do is look for shoes with a wider toe box like these. You can see that they are foot-shaped. Nice wide toe box shaped with enough room to allow your toes to spread out. These are my favorite like everyday sneakers from Zero Shoes. I'll drop the link down below if you guys are interested. This style of shoe is technically called a barefoot shoe. And there are plenty of other companies out there that make very stylish barefoot shoes. Okay, activity number 2 that is ruining your knee health over time is avoiding movements that are uncomfortable. Listen, I get it. If something doesn't feel good, it's natural to not want to do that thing. But there is sometimes a degree of discomfort you need to push through in order to get to a pain-free range of motion in the knee joint. When your knees are feeling uncomfortable in a certain range of motion, like doing a full squat or even maybe lunging, your natural reaction is probably going to be to avoid doing those types of movements, right? It makes sense. But here's the problem. By avoiding these movements, you're actually creating what physical therapists call movement avoidance patterns. Your brain starts to unintentionally label certain ranges of motion as dangerous, even when they're perfectly normal human movements. And over time, this avoidance of those movements actually creates weaker muscles where you actually need strength the most. And your comfortable range of motion starts to get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And then your body starts to forget how to move properly. The key difference here is between discomfort and pain. Let me break down how my physical therapist did when I was in knee rehab. They used a pain scale. On a scale of 0 to 10, when 0 is no pain and 10 is like emergency level pain, here's what the research shows. Working in the 0 to 3 range is generally considered therapeutic discomfort. This mild discomfort might feel like a stretching or pulling sensation, mild muscle fatigue, a feeling of work in the area, and a slight soreness that doesn't necessarily affect your movement quality. Being in zone 0 to 3 is where positive adaptations happen. Your body is starting to learn like, hey, I need to get stronger here. Studies show that controlled exposure to this level of discomfort actually improves tissue resilience and joint function over time. Once you hit a level of about 4 on that pain scale or above, that's when your body starts to go into protection mode. And that's also when you're probably doing more harm than good. Signs you've crossed into the danger zone include sharp stabbing sensations, pain that starts to alter how you're moving, pain that lingers for hours after an activity, and pain that wakes you up in the night. During my ACL recovery, my PT would always say, hey, I want you feeling it, but I don't want you feeling bad. That's somewhere along the sweet spot. I remember constantly having to push through the this feels weird zone or this feels awkward, where something in my brain was like, this isn't quite right, but the pain wasn't to a level where it was painful. It was just uncomfortable. I was in that zone of healthy discomfort. We were essentially retraining my movement patterns. So if you fall into this bucket and you've been avoiding some knee-related movements that provide some discomfort, try this. Start incorporating gentle versions of the movements that you find challenging for your knees. Maybe it's a partial squat while holding onto something stable. And then pay attention to where you're at on that 0 to 10 scale. If you're staying within that 0 to 3 range, then you're helping your body and your knees to adapt and get stronger. And then you're gonna wanna gradually increase that range of motion as your body adapts. Your knees actually get stronger when they experience different angles of pressure, as long as your form is correct, of course. Remember, our bodies and our knees are extremely adaptable, and they will adapt to what we ask them to. If you never ask your knees to function in their full range of motion, then they won't. Daily activity number 3 that can be ruining your knees is not staying hydrated enough. Being well hydrated is crucial for your knee health. By the way, quick plug for Epic water filters. I am such a huge fan of these. This actually has a water filter built into the water bottle, and it filters out anything that you don't want that's in your tap water. They have another version that you can bring with you for like camping, where you can drink like river and lake water, and it filters out all the nasty stuff. You just attach it to your straw of the water bottle that it comes with, and it's pretty amazing. Your knee joints actually rely on something called synovial fluid for smooth and pain-free movement. Think of your body's natural joint lubricant. When you're well hydrated, your body can produce enough of this synovial fluid to properly allow the joints to hinge smoothly. But let me tell you what happens when you are dehydrated, and let me start by saying it is not pretty. So basically, your synovial fluid ends up becoming more thick and less effective. Picture trying to move machine components with like slick, sticky, gummy wax instead of like smooth, sleek WD-40. That's kind of the difference between what happens when you're not hydrated and when you are hydrated. Beyond just how your hydration status affects your synovial fluid, it also affects your cartilage. Essentially, the cartilage in a joint is the cushioning factor between bones. And cartilage is made up of 80% water. And when you're dehydrated, your cartilage becomes less shock absorbing. Every step, therefore, creates more friction and more stress on the knee joint. Think about this. On average, most people walk about 5,000 to 10,000 steps a day. That's potentially 10,000 moments of increased friction in your knee when you're not properly hydrated. During my knee rehab, I noticed a huge difference on days when I was drinking plenty of water and days when I kind of let that slip by. My knee stiffness during my recovery period was much better when I drank more water, and I felt like my knee was able to recover faster from PT. And if you're not sure where to start, I always say follow your thirst. That's important. But if you need an actual like number and a metric to hit, think about whatever your body weight is in pounds, half that, and then that's the amount that you want in ounces. So if I weigh 160 pounds, I'm gonna want to have roughly 80 ounces. Another simple test is just checking your urine color. If your urine is dark yellow, then your knee joints are probably suffering. So you're gonna wanna aim something more like a light straw-like color. Pro tip, try starting your day with 16 ounces of water right away. It kickstarts your hydration goals right off the bat, and it helps to rehydrate your body after being dehydrated from spending a lot of time not drinking water while you're sleeping. Your joints will feel a difference within days, I promise. Activity number 4 that you're probably doing daily that is ruining your knees, and that is only moving forward.
Victoria, aren't we only supposed to move forward one day at a time? You just gotta keep pushing forward.
Okay, motivational quotes aside, our lifestyles primarily demand us moving in one direction, and that is forward. We walk forward, run forward, cycle forward, you get it. But our bodies, especially the muscles surrounding our knees, thrive on multi-directional movement. Adding some variety with how you move throughout the day can really help to benefit your knee joint. Think about it, your knee is supported from muscles and ligaments and connective tissues on all sides. When you only focus on moving forward, you're primarily just focused on strengthening the quadriceps in the front and the hamstrings in the back. Meanwhile, those small but very important stabilizers stabilizing muscles around the sides of your knees, they're basically getting like a permanent vacation. This is why so many people end up developing a lot of physical therapists call muscle imbalances. Your quads get super strong from all that forward-based movement, while your inner thigh muscles, called your adductors, and your outer hip muscles, called your abductors, get weaker and weaker. Eventually, your knees start getting pulled out of alignment with every step. So here's the fix. Try adding some lateral movement into your everyday activities. Maybe start doing some side lunges while you're brushing your teeth. My favorite is walking backwards uphill or walking backwards on a treadmill instead of walking forwards to warm up when I'm at the gym. These small tweaks just create a more balanced approach to strengthening all the areas around your knee. And last but not least, the fifth and final activity that you are doing daily that is probably ruining your knees is having postural stagnation. That's basically just a fancy way of saying staying in one place for too long. Whether you're sitting at your desk or standing for long periods, changing your positions regularly is one of the best things you can do for your knees. So here's what happens when you don't move out of a certain position for a certain duration of time. Remember your synovial fluid? Yes, that natural joint lubricant that we all have. It basically becomes stagnant. It starts to become thicker and less effective again, just like what happens when you're dehydrated, similar to like engine oil that hasn't been changed in a car for a long time. Plus, sitting or standing in a certain position without movement for a long time also slows down your circulation quite a bit, which means that your knees aren't getting as much of the oxygen and nutrients that they so desperately need. And all those muscles I was talking about surrounding your knees, well, when you maintain a singular position for a long period of time, those muscles begin to take a shortened position. So when you finally do stand up after binge watching like 4 episodes of your favorite TV show, your knees feel like they belong to somebody twice your age. Then those hamstrings and quads feel tight and they're pulling the knees out of alignment too. Movement not only keeps that synovial fluid moving, but it also continues to circulate that fresh blood to the joint capsule, allowing for new nutrients and blood flow to that area. Movement is like hitting the refresh button on your joints. So something I like to do, especially if I know I'm gonna be sitting for a long time doing some like really intense work, or even if I'm like watching some show or a movie, is I like to set either a reminder or just have a mental note to get up every 20 to 30 minutes, walk around for a second, kind of bend my knees, do some butt kickers, reposition myself, and then get back into it. These micro movements are like little snacks for your knees. Or you can always get a walking pad for under your desk like I have. I have a whole walking pad desk set up where I'm able to walk on a treadmill as I'm working all day, and it keeps my knees so happy. They are moving all day and they are able to continuously get new blood flow. Check out my video here if you want to see more of my desk and walking pad setup. The amazing thing about knee health is that, again, small, consistent changes really make a huge impact in the long run. During my recovery from my ACL surgery, tweaking some of these bad habits and incorporating some of the adjustments really made a difference in how quickly I bounced back. And here's something that nobody really talks about. Knee health isn't just about avoiding pain. It's about maintaining your freedom and independence as you age. I watched people in their 50s and 60s start to have to limit their activities. And not because they want to, but because their knees won't let them do what they want to do anymore. And that doesn't have to be your story. These 5 little changes virtually cost nothing and just take a little bit of consistency and mindfulness to implement. They're not sexy and they're not trending on social media, but they work. I've experienced personally and seen it with my clients. And the best part is you don't have to wait until there's a problem to start working on these things. Begin with tweaking one of these bad habits and turning them into a good, maintainable, consistent habit that's going to benefit your knees, and watch the magic happen. Whatever you choose, your future self and your future knees will thank you. If you found this video helpful, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and share it with somebody that you think might benefit from it as well. And for those of you guys dealing with knee issues already, don't lose hope. There's still plenty you can do. Something is always better than nothing. And I've got more videos coming on joint health in specific later this year. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss them. And until then, I will see you guys next time. Bye.
You